So a while ago, I did a video on the artifacts and relics of Greyhawk that were in the DM's guide. I want to continue with that theme, this time going for some modules. Today on Greyhawk Grognard. So this is not going to be a comprehensive look at every single one. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of them, but I'm going to pick some from some favorite modules of mine, and we'll just start there. So first off, we have C2, the Ghost Tower of Inverness. This was the second one of the competition modules, so it's very tightly structured. There are pre-generated PCs, and you have a time limit and so forth. It's intended to be done as part of a tournament at a convention or something. And the big MacGuffin at the end of the module, the thing that the players are there to find, is called the Soul Gem. And this is one of the first non-DM's guide artifacts in Greyhawk that I'm aware of, and its basic function is to steal and capture souls. The way it's described here, uh, when the white light strikes the victim, he or she screams horribly, a long, drawn-out, wailing scream. As your vision clears, an image of the character, pale and ghostly, streams out of the body and towards the soul gem, getting smaller and the nearer it gets. As the image shrinks in size, the volume of its screams diminishes. When it reaches the gem, there is a burst of radiance, and the image is gone. The character's form lies motionless on the floor. The body is dead white, as are all of the character's possessions. Um, and then that's what you're supposed to. That's the box text to read. And then for the DM, it says the victim's soul is sucked out of his or her body by the ray of the gem. The image the players see is the ectoplasmic form of the soul that of that being drawn into the gem. The body is lifeless as it slumps to the floor. Note that any wisdom saving throw adjustment is used against attacks by the soul gem. So it's a really evocative thing. It doesn't. There's no indication of where it came from or how it got there or anything. It's just in this ghost tower that disappears for decades and then comes back. And the idea is you got to get it while the tower is there. So it's just a really cool one. But that's the first one I wanted to talk about from C2, the Soul Gem. Next up, we have Dungeon Modules S2, the White Plume Mountain by Lauren Schick. This is one of the obvious choices. If you're going to talk about Greyhawk artifacts, this has got three of them in there, and you know which ones I'm talking about. The first one is Whelm. A lawful neutral +3 hammer, +5 for dwarves. It's obviously of dwarven manufacture. Um, it has an intelligence of 18 and an ego of 18, and its purpose is to kill all trolls, giants, and goblin types, including bugbears and hobgoblins. It can be thrown and will return up to 150 feet 3 times per day, only for dwarves. It also acts as a hammer of stunning. Once per day, it's struck on the ground. It will send forth a shockwave, stunning up to 45 hit points of enemies up to a distance of 60 feet for 1 to 4 rounds. If they fail their save, that's a unique feature that you don't see very often. Is that stunning thing? I think some of the monsters have it as a like a breath weapon attack or something, but that's a neat thing. Um, Whelm also detects gold, gems, and the presence of goblins. Its drawback is that the bearer of the weapon will come under the influence of a severe case of agoraphobia, a fear of open spaces, and will fight at -2 when not inside a building at night or underground. Um, so it's a obviously very neat dwarven artifact there. It's very focused, which is good. The next one is Wave, a neutral +3 trident which does 1 to 10 points of damage. It has a 14 intelligence and a 20 ego. Its purpose is the death or disfigurement of all who don't convert to the worship of Poseidon or any similar sea god you choose. That's really interesting because obviously, what is a trident dedicated to Poseidon doing in Greyhawk where the Greek gods aren't? So obviously there are several sea gods that you'd want to put in its stead. When proper Greyhawk gods. But of course, when this was written, there weren't any Greyhawk gods published, so it was kind of the Wild West when it came to deities and such. um, I would probably do Zerbo, probably. Um, its powers are that it functions as a trident of fish command, like the magic item. It functions as a trident of warning, again, like out of the DM's guide. It can find water. Doesn't give a range on that, which is okay. It confers water breathing and underwater action, just like the magic items. It can generate a cube of force. Um, just like the magic item. And it has speech and telepathy in the common tongue, as well as the languages of all sea creatures. So that's pretty neat. And it dehydrates. This is another unique feature of an artifact. On a natural roll of 20, in addition to its normal damage, Wave dehydrates its opponent, draining one half of his or her remaining hit points. Compute normal damage first. So I like that. That's got a lot of flavor in that one. Um, but again, you see the kind of weirdnesses that can creep up in these early modules before we saw the gold box. They were before we had info on the gods of Greyhawk. Um, and then last but not least, we have sure, we have to turn the page. What we have, we have Black Razor. This is the one most people will think of because it's very much like Stormbringer from the Elric of Melniboné novels. Um, Black Razor is a +3 chaotic neutral sword, intelligence of 17, ego of 16. Purpose is to suck souls. It is a black sword that shines like a piece of night sky filled with stars, and it is sheathed in a black scabbard decorated with pieces of obsidian. On a killing stroke, Black Razor temporarily adds the number of levels of the dead foe to its bearer's levels in terms of fighting ability. So, if you're a seventh level fighter and you kill another seventh level fighter, you fight like a 14th level fighter for a while. Um, the bearer also temporarily gains the full hit points of the victim. So they're enormously powerful. All subsequent damage to the sword's wielder is removed from the added hit points first. The extra levels and hit points last a number of turns equal to the number of levels received. The souls of all entities killed by Black Razor are sucked out and devoured. Those killed by the Black Sword cannot be raised. Now, it's interesting that they note that here, but they didn't do that in the Soul Gem from Inverness. Maybe they just didn't think of it. For every 3 days, the sword remains unfed. Its ego increases by 1 point until it can compel its bearer to kill a human or humanoid being. Upon feeding, its ego returns to 16. Yikes! This is an immensely powerful thing. Um, and then it gives some additional things about what happens if it strikes a negative energy being like a wraith or something like that. It will work in reverse. Like, so if you use it to attack a wraith or something that it's connected to the negative plane, yeah, it will transfer your levels to the creature. That's kind of wow. There's a drawback for you. And if the wielder survives, you will need a restoration spell or twice the usual number of levels received from positive kills to replace the lost level. Um, those killed for replacement must be of the same race. Okay, so yeah, it's just some corner cases if you use it to attack something like that. And in addition to all that, the sword also has speech and telepathy, common in whatever tongue its wielder knows, which it learns telepathically. Detects living creatures, souls in radius of 60 feet. It can do a haste spell on the bearer that lasts for 10 rounds once per day. It is 100% magic. It confers 100% magic resistance to charm and fear. Exact percentage chance of resistance will depend on the level of the opponent casting such a spell. So um, it's it's immensely powerful. Um, yeah. So there we go. The big three. Some of the most famous ones out of modules anyway. From White Plume Mountain. Hi everybody. Please help me keep Greyhawk alive by liking this video and subscribing. It really does help. You can also become a member of the channel or support me on Patreon and get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free or at-cost copies of my Greyheim Adventures modules, and more. Thanks, and now back to the show. Next up, we have my favorite module, Temple of Elemental Evil. This is, for me, one of the best things ever written. There are two artifacts within here. Um, the first is a lens, I should say, the lens of transformation. This device is a sheet of cloudy crystal, 7 feet broad, tall, and 3 inches thick. It was created by Ayuz, who placed it in the dungeons for his evil purposes. It appears cloudy from one side but clear from the other. No detect magic will work within 20 feet. Um, I'm sorry, no detect spells will work within 20 feet except for detect magic, which reveals that it is a powerful object. Um, the lens is activated whenever any life force, living or undead, approaches within 3 feet of the clear side. The cloudy side of the lens then begins to brighten, producing a continual light within 1 round. Viewed from the cloudy side, the users, those on the clear side, appear as the purest opposites of their actual forms. A paladin would appear demonic, and so forth. Um, Additional visual effects, flames and smoke, sky and fluffy clouds are automatically produced. It's like basically an illusion. Subtle feelings are likewise projected to the viewers of the illusion, allowing no saving throw, though their innate though innate total immunity to ESP negates the emotional effects. Cloudy side of the lens quickly darkens when the users back away from the clear side. The lens will function as offered as desired. It is uh, protected by a powerful and permanent force field and is impervious to harm by anything less than a godling. Even Passwall and Glassy are useless against its mighty Duomer. Once mounted, as it is in this dungeon, it cannot be removed by a power lesser than I use, except for a wish, and even that may cause the lens to shatter. And Ayus will know if it's destroyed. So basically, it's what it sounds like. It'll take good creatures and turn them evil and so forth and vice versa. Um, so anyway, next up is the big one, the Orb of Golden Death. This item, also known as Yellow Skull, Golden Skull, or the Death Orb, is a powerful magic item created by Zukmoi and Ayuz. Because of its nature and aura, no paladin will touch it willingly, nor will any good cleric. They feel its immense innate evil. It's a gold sphere 3 inches in diameter, so not very big at all. And it's atop it has a raised diadem with different with various depressions, um, which are to receive the gems, the elemental power stones. Um, its possessor can at will detect lie, no alignment, and poison, the reverse of reverse poison. The possessor learns directly from the orb full details of its powers, but no information about charisma effects. Potential powers you get from the gems and unfavorable things. So it's a very complicated thing. There's a lot of different powers, um, but it's very specifically tied to the temple. So if you have it and you look on the Great Throne, you'll know how to operate it, which takes you down into the dungeons. The user's charisma with respect to chaotic evil creatures is raised to 20. Or -3 when angry. That mirrors what happens to Ayus because he can have a kindly old man visage, or he can have this angry demonic red form, and this is kind of taking along that same thing. And it gives you the effects of the high charisma in terms of henchmen and stuff like that. Um, so those affected by awe or horror are stunned into inaction by the mere sight of the possessor and cannot initiate any action other than physical defense. However, it also has some ill effects, some bad effects that occur. Um, no good ever results from the employment of the Death Orb's powers, except on a very short-term or temporary basis. Thus, if evil can result from any use of the orb, that occurs along with whatever was actually done. I give an example here of an elemental conjured to fight some evil creatures will do so, but in such a way as to allow them to harm the conjurer's associates to a maximum extent. Um, each time the awe power is brought forth, the user actually loses a point of charisma, but only with respect to those not who are of chaotic evil alignment. Um, so it's really amazing. Um, but again, it's very specifically tied to the dungeon. So while yes, it is an artifact, it has very limited utility outside of the dungeon. Um, Ayuz and Zuktmoy will know who has it and where they are, which is always a bad thing. Um, the protection of the death orb notwithstanding, Zuktmoy and Ayuz can attempt to persuade or coerce the possessor to hand over the orb, although they cannot take it by force. Um, and uh, any character who actually gives the death orb to either Zuckmoy or Ayuz becomes the hopeless thrall of the appropriate evil being ever afterwards. This permanently removes the character from play as a PC. And then when you get the elemental power gems, you get to they give you a whole bunch of. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's literally a whole page long. Um, but the air gem gives you wind walk, and you can summon a Babo demon. The earth gem gives you earthquake, and you can summon a type 1. The fire gem gives you flame strike and a type 2 demon, and water gives you the wall of ice and a type 3 demon. You can control those 3 times a day for up to 6 turns. And it also gives you like immunity from the elemental effects. So if like you have the fire gem in the crown, in the crown on the golden skull, you can endure elemental fire and so forth. Um, so yeah, so two uh, kind of gimmicky artifacts in here, but it's tied to the dungeon itself. So while yes, they do count as artifacts, their utility outside of the dungeon is somewhat limited, and there's actually safeguards built into them in the descriptions to make it very difficult to use them outside of the dungeon. So there we go. T1 through 4, Temple of Elemental Evil. And the last one I'm going to talk about today is S4, the Lost Caverns of Tsojcanth by Gary Gygax. This was a very interesting one because when it first came out, it actually came with 2 booklets, one for the dungeon itself, and then we also had this kind of monsters and magical items because it was almost a preview of Unearthed Arcana and the Monster Manual 2. So, when we got this, a lot of this material was completely new. But one of the sections in here, they actually have a whole section on artifacts because there's a lot of magical items sprinkled around in this dungeon. The first one is Dowd's Wondrous Lantern. The artifact, wrought from the finest yellow gold, is beautifully crafted. Framework is set with huge jewels and crystal lenses. They give you a kind of a little view of it there. Um, an unwavering pure flame burns within. The faces are normally fitted with the crystal lenses, but the jewels are actually additional lenses fashioned to fit the 4 faces of the lantern. The lantern's magical powers change depending on which of the gem lenses is fitted to it, as well as upon the continued burning of the lantern's magical flame. The lenses and their powers are described below. So basically, you have all these different prisms made out of different gems, and they give you different effects. And one of the great things about this um, is that you can, if you wanted to, you could have your players experiment with making new lenses and new fuels. This is really cool. This really gives a huge opportunity to have all kinds of quests for research materials, and maybe there's somebody has figured out how to do this themselves, and then you have to go and find it out. And so, there's a lot of stuff you could have your players do to play around with the lantern, but it needs fuel. And the lamp is fueled by crushed transparent gems contained in a small compartment in the base of the lantern. The lantern can be refueled with the following amounts of gems: crushed diamonds worth 10,000 gold pieces, crushed topazes, rubies, sapphires worth 4,000 for each, and miscellaneous crushed transparent gems worth 15,000. Each gem must be worth 500 or more. The lantern will always be burning when found and will always be fully fueled. If fuel is placed in the extinguished lantern, it will magically light itself. If used as a normal lantern, it will burn for 100 years. The use of its magical powers burns fuel at a faster rate, which makes sense. The faces can be shuttered so that no light shines through, but infravision or ultravision will see it. Um, and 7 gem lenses were made for the lantern, as listed below. When the lantern is found, it will have the following lenses within it: ruby, topaz, emerald, diamond, and the 4 crystal lenses. The 3 remaining gem prisms are elsewhere, perhaps possibly the object of a quest by player characters. The magical effects have a range of 30 feet, and the powers of the artifact is such that at ranges of 10 feet or less, there is no saving throw. So this is another very powerful one. And uh, when three openings of the lantern are shuttered and a gem prism inserted in the remaining opening, a beam of colored light shines forth 30 feet. The magical power of the lens does not take effect until the possessor of the lantern commands it. Um, so the different powers they have are hold, either hold person or hold monster, haste, color spray, fear, emotion, rage, flame strike, confusion, prismatic spray, and prismatic sphere. And most of those take 5 years out of the lifetime of the lantern, because you have that 100 years worth of fuel, and if you cast any of those, it'll take 5 years off of that, or 10 years for the confusion, or 50 years for the prismatic spray or sphere. So it's basically a way of having charges, and then the charges are very expensive to recharge. That's basically what the mechanic is here. Um, and there's all kinds of different, there's special cases. And again, this is more than an entire page of description, so I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. Um, uh, um, Anyone who owns Dowd's Wondrous Lantern will become increasingly possessive of it, suspicious of those who look at the lantern, and increasingly secretive about it. This obsession with the lantern will become a form of paranoia, and the owner will become convinced that they want to kill him or her and steal the lantern, which I guess is very neat. You're sent into madness as you own the thing. Um, and legend states that the wrong combinations of gem fuel will cause the lantern to malfunction. Possible mishaps include totally different magical powers that affect the lantern's owner as well as the intended target, deluding the owner to the actual powers of the lantern and becoming a non-magical lantern. So that's what I meant earlier when I said you can have all these different experiments to see what happens. That's what started me on that line of thinking, is that maybe you want to do that intentionally and record what all the different effects are. There's all kinds of ways that you could take this and really run with it. Um, and then next up, we have the Demonomicon of Igwilv. This is a huge um, uh, uh, brass bound book. Contains a treatise on the powerful evil creatures of the lower planes, and it also has a bunch of new spells in it. It's a way of introducing new spells in the campaign. This was such a fascinating artifact that there's actually a series of articles in Dragon Magazine that are based on it. And of course, the name Demonomicon derives from Lovecraft's Necronomicon. That's obvious. And then they give the spells. The spells are Abjure, Exaction, and Henley's Digit of Disruption. Those are clerical spells, and it gives instructions on how to pray for them. The magic user spells are Banishment, Binding, Dismissal, Dolor, Ensnarement, and Torment, which is very on theme for Igwilv, because she was known to find powerful demons and so forth and get them to do what she wants. It also gives the command words to the prison of Zagi, which we'll get to in a second. Um, um, the dungeon master, let's go. So it gives the different spell descriptions, for all those spells. These end up um, in Unearthed Arcana, as I mentioned. Let's okay. So next up, the prison of Zagig. Only 5 of these brass devices are believed to exist, and they give a great illustration, not on the exact page, but it's this wonderful illustration here of the prison of Zagig. Um, Only 5 of these brass devices are believed to exist. Each is nearly identical, appearing to be nothing more than a small, well-made bird cage. Normal handling or examination will not reveal it to be magical, but if detect magic is cast on it, there's a 50% chance that it'll work. But it won't be able to tell what kind of magic. Each prison cage has permanent anti-magic and anti-detection. Can only be used by a magic user. When it's active, the cage is wizard locked, as if the possessor had cast it. And the second effect is that the possessor will be able to imprison a creature within the cage by speaking the trigger word and uttering a special command spell with a casting time of 1 round. And that's what we got out of the command words and such are what we got out of the Demonomicon. Command word must contain the personal name of the creature to be imprisoned. If the creature does not have a personal name, its history must be recited in great detail. The creature being commanded into imprisonment receives a saving throw versus spells. Okay, and if it fails its save, it is reduced to 3 inches height and instantly teleported into the cage. Since magic does not function within the cage, they cannot free themselves. An imprisoned creature does not need food or water while imprisoned and will instantly be um, restored to its former size and abilities once freed. A prison Zagig cannot be damaged by force or magic, and a prison creature can be freed by the owner of the prison or by a magic user able to break the wizard lock without using spells. A wish or alter reality can also be used to open the cage. A creature within the prison of Zagig cannot be located because of the non-location thing. There's the activation word, the trigger word, the command spell, and the freedom word. Those are the different things from it. And again, all that is in the Demonomicon. So definitely some very powerful and very cool artifacts. My favorite out of all these is the lantern, just because it has all those possibilities with the different gems and the ability to experiment with it. So yeah, there we are. I'd love to hear from you. How if you want to see more of this, I can continue a series on artifacts from different sources in the Greyhawk lore. Just let me know. Have you used any of these in your games? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear the story. And hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. And I'll talk to you all later.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.